Hello everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In today's MTPredictor video, I'd like to look at our new VS or volume spike trade setup that's in our NinjaTrader 8 add-ons, NinjaTrader 7 add-ons, and our upcoming MTPredictor version 8 standalone platform. But before we start, I'd just like to look at our risk disclaimer and remind you all that all examples in these videos should be considered as hypothetical. No trades are actually taken. The videos are for training and education purposes only, and also there is risk of loss in trading and investing. All professional traders know and understand that losses can and will and do happen. I'll say that again. Losses can and will and do happen. The trick is keeping those losses small when they unfold and come through. Right, let's put that down and let's move on to a chart. I want to look at a trade setup that we were talking about in our MTPredictor training room yesterday, which was this VS or volume spike setup on the ES. There's also one on the NQ as well that basically nailed the low of the days for you. Very nice trade setups. What is a volume spike? Well, a volume spike is where we have a bar. If I put the cursor on that bar there, that goes through an important psychological previous level. In other words, you can see there's a pretty important level there towards the end of the previous day's trading. It goes through that on a wide range bar and has high volume. Most amateur traders would look at that and say, well, that's actually selling because we've got a wide range, high volume bar making new lows, therefore they'd want to go short. Professional traders need to look at this with a different eye. At MTPredictor we have an advantage, and we have our DP or decision point level. I'm just going to right mouse click over that level, place that on. This gives an area of where support or resistance is anticipated. These are on the chart in advance, so before the market even got there you could have had this level on your chart. But what's important is to see how the market reacts in and around this level, particularly on the bar after the high volume bar, which will be this bar here. So you can see that there's the high volume bar, here's the bar afterwards, and you can see that support came in and around our DP support level. That means that professionals were now stepping in and buying the market. In other words, amateurs were going short on the previous bar, professionals were coming in and now looking to go long, and what normally happens after this is the professionals tend to win, and then after that you tend to get a big move in the opposite direction. In other words, this is a classic fake out. So at MTPredictor we've designed an automatic trade setup that takes advantage of this, and as you can see it's labeled on our chart here as a VS setup with our blue buy bar coming in here. So let's right mouse click over this blue buy bar, put analysis on. Remember, we use correct position sizing to keep the initial risk small and under control. In this case less than 2% of a sample $20,000 account. The first target would be the DP off the prior pivot high, which would have been here. And as you can see, the market went up, hit this level very nicely where a profit of approximately 2.2R or 2.2 times the initial risk was available. So a very nice trade setup there that basically caught the low of the day for you and allowed you to then go long as the market rallied. There were a couple of other trade setups that we should look at. There's a TS4 sell, but that was against our MTP trend being blue. There's also another VS setup that actually caught the high of the day, but worse luck, that was on a blue MTP trend and therefore would not have been taken either. It was a pity on this one at the high of the day, because if we clear everything off and we go back to look at this decline down here, you can see this was the decline into the low. If I right mouse click, do Elliott wave intermediate, you can see this was actually a 5-wave sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now normally what happens if the market goes through the DP from the prior wave 4, which it did, which it did here, it will then retrace the entire prior 5-wave sequence. If I zoom out a bit, you can see that the high here was right at the start of the prior sequence. If I place the cursor there, you can see the level of the prior or the start of the sequence is where this reversed. This was actually the previous day's high. Oh no, it wasn't, not quite. The previous day's high was here, which actually was a double top if you zoom out a bit with that. But normally if you place the DP off from the start of the sequence, this would be the area of where resistance was anticipated. So what I'm trying to say is that if this VS setup had been a few ticks higher, had been just around here, then we would have got a valid setup because this MTP trend would have changed to black. So it was almost a very good setup, but not quite. So the best setup yesterday on the ES was this VS setup here, which nailed the low of the day. The YM, there wasn't anything on the low of the day there either, but if we look at the NQ, this was even better, and I'll show you why. Here's our same VS setup, again on our black MTP trend. If I right mouse click over the blue buy bar to analysis, there's the same trade setup into the first target for 2.1R, but this was slightly different on our trade management. The reason being is when the market reached the first target, which it did on this bar, our MTP trend was what we call strong. In other words, our MTP trend had gone through our strength band, which is our grey bands here. Now when it goes through these bands, it means the market's strong and we're anticipating the market to rally further. So rather than coming out at the first target, which it would have been here, we use our ATR stop, which in this case is our blue dots here, to then trail or let the market run a bit further. Almost stopped out here, not quite, and that would have meant the market would have gone all the way up, you'd have been trailing your stop, and then you'd have been stopped out just about here for a nice 5.2R profit. So that would have caught the reversal at the low of the day with your entry on the bar after the low of the day there, coming up into here to take your profit, not quite at the high of the day, but pretty much well up there. So a very, very nice trade there for plus 5.2R profit. We have to look at this TS3 buy setup here because it's important to look at all the setups on the chart. This would have been again valid because our MTP trend would have been blue. Right mouse click, place the analysis on. It didn't reach its first target, which would have been up here. Didn't quite reach the DP from the prior wave B, but it did go through the 100% initial risk level. So you could have looked at this and said, well, actually, I want to bring my stop to break even because the likelihood of a continued rally was fairly small because we'd already had a good rally as well. And if I go over to the 24-hour chart, just going to skip and have a look at the 24-hour chart on the NQ. I'll show you, there's the NQ. What I want to do is draw the 15-minute chart. Actually, I'll go slightly longer, the 60 minutes, so I scrunch it up a bit. Here's a pretty important high, a major high of a few days ago. If I right mouse click on this pivot, place DP, can you see how the high of the day yesterday on the 24-hour chart was right at that major DP resistance? So the likelihood of a continued rally was slightly less. So that's a bit more of an advanced look at the markets, in that when you are trading the day session only chart, which was this one, you did actually have resistance on the 24-hour chart as well. So that's why it would be sensible on this TS3 buy setup here to, once you get to the 100% initial risk level, bringing your stop to at least break even, particularly after you'd had such a good trade set up here off the low of the day. Were there any losing trades yesterday? Let's have a look at the YM. Again, you had a buy setup here. This buy setup was on a black MTP trend, went to the first target, and that actually would have been a nice 2-hour profit. So actually it was a very good day for MTPredictor yesterday. Of course there are losing trades, of course there are. There are times when you do get losing trades, and it's important to understand that losses can and will do unfold. But when they do unfold, remember, because of using correct position sizing, the losses are kept small, and that's kept at -1R. So yesterday was a very good day, but the main trade setups I wanted to look at were this new VS setup, or volume spike setup, that we have in our NinjaTrader 8 add-ons, and as you can see, that caught a very nice trade just off the low of the day on the ES yesterday, and an even better trade on the NQ, where the profit would have gone up into the ATR stop there for approximately 5.2R. So this is the new trade setup in the NinjaTrader 8 add-ons that I wanted to highlight in today's MTPredictor video. And as you can see, it's a very good trade setup, particularly as it gets you in the direction of the professional money, and you basically ride the coattails of the professionals where they do fake outs like this. And the good thing about this is when these trade setups work, they normally work very well because the professionals are looking to move the market, and you very often get a strong move off these volume spike or VS setups, which, as you can see, is what happened in the markets yesterday. So this is one of my favorite trade setups, along with the Holy Grail trade setup in the MTPredictor software program.